Hi, everybody. It's Craig and Arun back with your NBA. 9 free plays for New Year's Eve here. Happy New Year early. I'm going to be the first one to wish you a Happy New Year. How about that? It is Wednesday, the 31st of December. Don't forget, if you want to get on our top plays, got a couple different ways to do so. You want to get on our NBA, college basketball. We've both been pretty hot the last couple of weeks. You can do so. 50% off. You can buy the individual NBA, NHL, college basketball. New Year 15. A day pass per sport is $30, or a week pass per sport is $99. So use that over at the website. Of course, if you want to get on our football plays, we got an even better deal. The code won't work because it's already 50% off. You get all of our football plays for the week, including bowls, including playoffs, including the NFL all the way through next Wednesday. So a full week of picks, just $99, docsports.com/Craig Arun. The only way to get this is if you put that link in. If you go search it from the website, you will not find it. Okay, let's go to the NBA. This is an early game here in the NBA. Golden State at Charlotte. Of course, Steph, every time he returns to Charlotte, he always loves it because, of course, that's where he grew up with his dad, Dell, playing for the Hornets back in the day. Golden State's favored by 7, total 233. And don't forget, the other Seth Curry is on this team as well, even though he's not playing right now. So you got both the Curry brothers coming, and his dad is on the radio or TV call over there in Charlotte. So family reunion here. What do you like here? Total 233.
Yeah, I mean, Golden State finally bounced back and beat the Nets 120-107. So, happy for them, winning 405, beating Dallas, beating Orlando, beating Phoenix. And then you have a Charlotte team who rolls in here, losing to Milwaukee 113-123 after they had won back-to-back games. They still haven't really figured out how to win 3 in a row. And, excuse me. And then you have a Golden State team that's won 5 in a row. I want you to point out, when you talk about how Golden State always gets up for this team, it's because obviously Steph grew up here. He played at Davidson as well. He grew up in North Carolina. And they've covered the last 5 because every time, Steph gets up to play, Charlotte, and every time they're at Charlotte, last time they were at Charlotte, they beat them by, 18 points. The time before, they beat them by 18 points. So both times at Charlotte, they've won by 18 points the last couple of years, dating back to 2022. Now, Charlotte here, when you look at that last game, Milwaukee, there was a contest where they shot 43% from the field. It was a contest that, Milwaukee obviously had Giannis back. I talked to you about that game, and I was like, I don't know, Craig, 75% is on Milwaukee, but that's what kind of makes sense here with Giannis coming back. Golden State, of course, coming off that big win. It was a contest where Curry had 27 points, but they got a lot of depth scoring, too, against Brooklyn, right? They had Melton with 10, and Richard with 10, and Jackson Davis with 11, Podzinski with 7 as well. Peyton came back with 10. I mean, in that ball game, they had about 11 guys on the box score, which I thought was pretty impressive. I got to go with Golden State here. I think they're finding out some solutions. The Draymond situation, has everybody's ears and eyes perked up here. There's more juice in the building, if you will. And I'm going to take the Golden State Warriors. Craig, the Minnesota Timberwolves here, minus 4-point chalk against my Hawks. I'm a huge Hawks fan. I was checking out the local feed here. And definitely the Hawks have come out and said openly that they were looking to trade. The way they said it is they're looking for an off-ramp from the Trae Young situation. That is the official word from the Hawks. They are looking for an off-ramp. Trae's not going to be with this team much longer. Where is he going to go? I don't know. Is he going to go to Phoenix maybe? Or is he going to, maybe hook up with Devin Booker over there? But in Trae's defense, he never really won. I mean, this is Jalen Johnson's team. Okay, it is now Okongwu and Jalen Johnson's team, and everybody kind of knows that now. And they're moving on from Trae. Who do you like here? Minnesota minus a 4, or do you like Atlanta here? I just want you to know that Minnesota beat them the last time they played them. Minnesota beat the Bulls by 35 points. We are coming off back-to-back losses. Atlanta, of course, has now lost 7 in a row.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards returned to the lineup last time out, and we saw what happened. Beat up pretty bad Bulls team that can be hit or miss a little bit. Atlanta, even without Trae, I think it's just like the distraction. At least when he was hurt, you don't have to answer. Like, is he coming back the next game? Is he not coming back? Are they holding him out because the chemistry? It's just a lot of questions for not only the front office to answer, it's the coaching, it's the other players. I think that distraction, until it's gone, I'm fading the Hawks. I'm going to take Minnesota minus 4.5 here at Atlanta. I think Minnesota is one of the better teams in the league. They're 21-12 in the year. I think they get a nice win and cover here on the road. Next game, Orlando Magic at the Indiana Pacers. Orlando Magic looked like they were going to pull away and win against Toronto, and then they just played bad late, lost by 1. Now they face an Indiana team that's lost, 9 in a row now, straight up. The Orlando's only favored by 4.5, total 225.5. A lot of injuries for both of these teams, so that's probably more why this line is so low. What do you like here?
Yeah, look, Isaac, Bain, Suggs, Wagner, both all listed as day-to-day coming into this game. And, for Indiana, you have, obviously Halliburton's out for the season. That's obviously affected this team. But also Jackson, Shepard are both listed as day-to-day as well. So then when you come over here and you look at Orlando, looking at that tough loss as a 6-point chalk to Toronto in a game where they're outscored 23-12 in the fourth quarter, that's going to drive this team bonkers, okay? And they only had 8 turnovers, to be honest with you, coming into that game. Toronto had only 6 turnovers, but Toronto had 29 free throws to Orlando's 27. At the end of the day, you had an Orlando team that was up big going into the fourth quarter, and they just let it collapse. Indiana comes into this game after a nice cover against Houston as a 15.5-point dog. That was a contest they actually shot 50% from the field. And then Houston shot 59% from the field that game. I think what I like in this game, Craig, is I like the fact that Indiana has given up 140 and 142 and 126 last 3 games. I like the fact that they've they've scored 122, 116, and 119. They're putting up a lot of points. 106 is a pretty low output for this Orlando team. I like the fact that Orlando comes in is going to be ticked off. I like the fact that Indiana is going to be a little ticked off too. It kind of makes sense. I'm going to take the over here. I think Indiana can be an active dog. I know the line is kind of low, which is a little disappointing, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the over between these two teams. I can't take Indiana, so this is my indirect way of taking Indiana.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on all the great content we have here at Doc Sports.
Craig, the Phoenix Suns here, 6-point dog against Cleveland. Note that these two teams have not met this year. Phoenix actually has a better record, 19-13. Cleveland is 18-16. Phoenix has now won 4 in a row, beating the Lakers, the Pelicans, and Washington. Cleveland, of course, comes into this game having beaten San Antonio. Huge win as a minus 1.5-point chalk. Who do you like here?
Yeah, we mentioned it when we did that game earlier in the week, and I said something's up. Spurs, the line was low. Obviously, Fox was questionable. As like, you can't play it. You can't play it because it's just a suspicious line. And we saw Cleveland come through with that. Cleveland's finally getting healthy. Jarrett Allen and Mobley, it seems like basically one of them have been out forever. Finally, we're starting to see these guys that were so good on defense last year because, they don't have the greatest perimeter defensive. Neither Mitchell or Garland are great defenders. So you got to have these guys behind them to help, pick up that defense. I think Cleveland probably wins here, but doesn't cover. This is a Phoenix team that's playing good basketball right now. If you would have said they were going to have more wins at this point of the season than the Cleveland Cavaliers, I would have given you 500-1 odds. I just never thought seeing that happening. But Phoenix is playing well, and I'm going to take them here plus the 6. I think Cleveland probably wins but doesn't cover. On the year, Cleveland is 5-14 against the spread at home. Worst home record against the spread in the league right now, and I'm not going to get in front of that bus. Let's take Phoenix in this one. Next game, the New York Knicks at the San Antonio Spurs. Knicks continue to get it done, 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're facing the Spurs team, like I said, a little disappointing last time against Cleveland. Kind of caught them in a tough spot with injuries and just how they play. They played, Oklahoma City and a bunch lately and done well. Now we see the Spurs favored by 1.5, total 236.5. What do you like in this one?
Maybe the Spurs are looking ahead to this game possibly. The Spurs, the Knicks obviously beat this team 124-113 in the NBA Cup. And the Knicks, come in having won 3 straight ball games. They didn't win the last 3. They didn't cover the last 3 games. And I was on the Pelicans when they were 8.5-point dog against them because they were looking ahead to this game, right? And when you take a look at that game, the Knicks, they had about 5 main scorers there: Towns, Anunoby, Diawara, Brunson, and McBride. They played pretty well, 48% from the field. But, these Spurs are going to be excited about this game, aren't they? And keep in mind that the Knicks had to put up a 34-22 spot to win that game. San Antonio comes off rare back-to-back losses now, which is interesting. The Knicks don't have any, the Knicks, as far as injuries-wise, Hart, Shamet, Robinson, and Huckport are listed day-to-day. San Antonio, give credit to their training staff. Absolutely no injuries to report. They've lost back-to-back games. They're 23-10. The last time the Spurs lost 3 in a row, you got to go back to last year. I mean, they lost back-to-back games to Phoenix and the Lakers, and they won Houston in their next game. After that, this is the next. They've only done this twice. Now they lost to the Jazz and to the Cavs. I can only look at this game one way, man. And I'm going to back the Spurs here on the money line. Look, if the Spurs are the kryptonite to Oklahoma City, we're going to find out if the Knicks are the kryptonite to the Spurs in this contest, right? That's why this line sits at about a 1.5. I'm going to take the Spurs, but I'm very interested to see what happens in this game. Craig, the Pelicans are favored. Let's take a moment and let's repeat that. The Pelicans are favored on the road against the Bulls, 8-26 team facing a 15-17 team. The Pelicans won 114-104 in December against the Bulls. The Pelicans won 143-130 in November against the Bulls. And now, as we come into late December, the Pelicans come off a loss to New York only by 5 points, back-to-back losses to Phoenix, and a loss to Cleveland. None of that is anything to be disappointed about. This is a team that had won 5 in a row before that, beating Dallas, Indiana, Houston, Chicago, and Portland. Chicago comes in losing back-to-back games against Minnesota by 35 and Milwaukee. Who do you like here?
Big injury news for the Bulls. Giddey sounds like they said it's going to be out a few weeks. Even though it says day to day, I saw the reports, but yes, again, that he's going to be out for a little while. Definitely sounds like out for this one. And it's like the who's Kobe White's out. I mean, or day to day, it's the who's who is on the injury list. I mean, it's just funny that the Pelicans a month ago, that was the opposite. You know, the Pelicans had everybody on the injury list. Now the Pelicans are getting healthier and starting to play better. The first game against the Phoenix Suns, they missed 17 free throws. If they make their free throws, they actually would have won that game. So it was a little tough one to lose. But they should have beat the Knicks last time out. I mean, they had the Knicks right there and kind of let it get away, but still covered. I think they win in this one. Sometimes you got to follow the odds. When the odds, like, they came out with the Pelicans favorite, I was like, yep, you got to play the Pelicans. So give me the Pelicans minus the point. I think it's a point and a half. Search it around. I do think the Pelicans win in cover. Next game, Denver at Toronto. Of course, a big news. Joker hyperextended his knee. Good news, it's not going to be like season injury, but it does sound like 3 to 4 weeks. And without Gordon and Braun, it's going to ask a lot for this Denver team with Murray and a bunch of young guys if they can keep it close. Toronto hasn't been great, so maybe they catch it. Toronto not playing great basketball, just 5-5 in the last 10 games. But Toronto's favored by 7.5, total of 224.5. What do you like?
Normally, when a star gets injured, I kind of look at the over because I think that a team kind of comes together. But Denver is a different type of team. Number one, Denver beat this team 121-119 last time. This was last year. When Denver wins ball games, they typically play to the over, right? They beat Minnesota 124-138. The last 4 games for Denver have gone over. They just gave up 147 points to Miami, which is why I don't want to take the over because they had such a horrible defensive contest last game. So sometimes it's not always about pulling the trigger. You know, it's about thinking about what to do and what to pull the trigger on. And I don't think the over is probably the right idea here. Look, I know Jokic is out, and I know Gordon is out. I get all that. And I understand that Toronto comes into this game having beaten Orlando and beaten Golden State. But I think there is enough talent on this Denver team, especially on the first game, that Jokic is out, that they're going to be fine. What's interesting is if Barrett will play in this game, he might not play because of load management, which always makes me think that, I'm sorry for the language here, that some guy's holding some big shit and he doesn't want to take it. That's why they're load managing him. I mean, I don't understand the concept of load management. You're getting paid millions of dollars. I mean, I remember the days when Barkley and Jordan and, Ewing, all those guys played every game. Like it was a sense of pride. You didn't manage any load. And now when your team is sitting at 20-14, what are you load managing about when you play less minutes than those guys did anyway? None of it really makes sense. But as it relates to this game, Craig, I'm going to take Denver plus the 7.5. I think there's enough focus on this team. Other guys will step up, and I don't really trust Toronto coming off back-to-back wins. All right, Craig, Washington. By the way, before I forget here, don't forget to jump on Craig and Mai's football package, which gets released tomorrow. 1 week is $99 for both for one of us, but now you get both of us for $99, which is incredible. We are trying to work on a 2-for-1 deal in college basketball and NBA. Can't wait for you to join us, and be sure to jump on my YouTube Premium as well. It is my teaching channel where I teach you all of my algorithms, models, and theories all day, or an extra video every day. So about 150 selections every single day for $20 a month. And that price never changes. So for $20 a month, that's about a sub sandwich and a half these days. All right, Craig, Washington plus 10.5 point dog against these Milwaukee Bucks. Washington is 7-24. Washington beat them, Craig, last time 129-126. Washington is off that 14-point loss to Phoenix, but did beat Memphis and Toronto prior to that. Milwaukee coming off nice wins against Charlotte and Chicago, and Giannis is back. Who do you like?
If you'd have told me Washington was going to, in the last, week now, basically, or less, beat Toronto by 20, beat Memphis at the time, was playing really good by 4, and really kept it pretty close most of the game against Phoenix, only lost by 14 and the line was 11. I'd have been like, you're nuts. Like, I just didn't see it. But they're playing good basketball right now. Now, they face a Milwaukee team that Giannis is back and he is upset. I mean, like he killed the Bulls in his first game back. He won again last time out, and he's just playing good basketball. I mean, against the Hornets, I mean, he dominated. Like he did whatever he wants, and they really didn't have anybody. And I don't like watching anybody to stop him. I don't like laying double digits very often, and I definitely don't like laying big numbers when teams have long road trips, which they qualify 5 games and come back home. But sometimes this is an exception to the rule, and this is it. Give me Washington minus the number. I think on New Year's Eve, like they send out 25 with a blowout. Give me Milwaukee minus the points. Last game, Portland at Oklahoma City. Portland was my best bet of the day of the week. They had to make some late free throws to get me the cover. A nice win. Now they have a day off, and now they face the Blazers. The Blazers face the Thunder here. Thunder's favored by 15.5, total 234. Last time we saw these two play, it was a much closer game throughout. Can they do that again? I see here on New Year's Eve.
Well, I mean, Oklahoma City has 5 losses, and one of them is to this Portland team, 121-119. Then they destroyed them 122-95. And the last one, you're right, it was November 30th. It was a pretty close game. Oklahoma City needed a 38-28 fourth quarter to beat them, and that's a 10-point difference. They only won by 8 points, which means they were down by 2 points going into the fourth quarter. Now, Portland comes into this game having beaten Boston and beaten Dallas, and that's pretty good. Those are pretty good. Wins in my book. And then Portland obviously is 14-19, 5 games under 500. Oklahoma City, does have Golden State on deck for what it's worth. They have beaten Atlanta and Philadelphia in back-to-back games, but I don't think they're as invincible as they once were after the Spurs have beaten them twice. In fact, the Spurs have beaten them 3 times in the last 10 games. That's the only team that they've lost to over the last 10 games. But the Blazers seem to have their number a little bit. And as they're catching 15.5, I don't have a public consensus, but I suspect it'll be something like 60-40 in favor of Oklahoma City, maybe even 64-36 type of deal. And I'm going to take the Blazers, a team that has a lot of experience against them, a team that had them on the ropes last time. And, Golden State, and you have a team here in Oklahoma City that could be looking ahead to Golden State as well. I'm going to take the plus 15.5, Craig.
Yeah, I think that's a good play. I think the Blazers are a live underdog. I think that, you catch them on the distraction, which New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, these are type things where it's like, like everybody's got family, everybody's got distractions. Maybe Blazers even get them outright. But let's take the points. I like that one. Don't forget, if you want to get on our 2-for-1 football pass right here, DocSports.com/Craig Arun. Plays for the week are released today at 6 p.m. So you're definitely going to get playoff plays from us this week. You're also going to get NFL and other bowl action. So you get all that, all the plays through next Wednesday, DocSports.com/Craig Arun. And then don't forget, if you want on our hoops plays or NHL, you can use this New Year 15. I'm going to have a top play in the NBA tonight. I think IC probably will either have a top play in the NBA or
I'll have a top play in the NBA for sure. A 7-unit.
So you can tell when you go over there, by the way, if you log in, you'll see what each of us has.